Airtel and Vodafone Idea submits application for upcoming 96,000 crore rupees spectrum auction. And Tata Electronics begin exports of semiconductor chip samples from Bengaluru Centre, chips being packaged at a pilot production line located at Tata Electronics R&D Centre. And ICICI Bank enables UPI payment in India for NRI customers. NRI customers can now make UPI payments by scanning any Indian QR code. Inclusion of foreign workers in PF is unconstitutional. Karnataka High Court strikes down provisions to include foreign workers as arbitrary and unconstitutional. And Maldives urges Indians to be a part of its tourism, says country's economy depends on it. And Tata Motor punches Maruti from the top spot. Tata Punch emerges as the largest selling car in India for 2 consecutive months. Finally, we're also tracking Zee Media Corporation's CEO Abhay Ojha, who stepped down. He was promoted to CEO back in 2023. And those are stories that we're tracking here on Business Plus this morning. I'm Shweta Kothari. The top story coming by the way of telecom operators Reliance, Jio, Bharti Airtel and Vodafone Idea, who have now submitted their application to bid for 96,317 crore rupees worth spectrum auction, which is scheduled to start from 6th of June. The last auction held in 2022 had Adani Group firm as a surprise bidder, but there is no news in the offing for the upcoming auctions, at least this time around. The government is expected to auction 8 spectrum bands for mobile phone services at a base price of 96,317 crore rupees. The total frequencies being put under hammer are valued at that base price. Now, spectrum will be assigned for 20 years and successful bidders will be allowed to make payments in 20 equal annual installments. The Department of Telecommunication will publish ownership details of the applicants by 10th of May. And moving on now to a brilliant story coming in for India's semiconductor ecosystem. Tata Electronics is set to have started exports of limited quantities of semiconductor chips packaged at a pilot line at its Bengaluru-based Research and Development Centre. The packaged chips are being shipped to some of Tata Electronics partners in Japan, the US and Europe. The development comes, remember, as Tata Group companies lays the groundwork for new chip packaging unit in Morigaon in Assam and a $10 billion chip foundry in Dholera in Gujarat. There are also reports that the company is in the final stages of a successful tape out of semiconductor chips in 28, 40, 55 and 65 nanometer category and some other higher nodes. A tape out refers to the final result of designing process for integrated circuits or ICs or printed circuits board. Now, all in all, it does look like for the very first time Tata Electronics making strides there and starting to export certain samples of semiconductors made here in India in Bengaluru. My colleague Krishnakumar joining us here on the show. Krishna, this is a big feat as far as India's semicon industry is concerned.
Right, it's the beginning of a process. It's the beginning of a process. Bear in mind, to put it in number terms, India's semiconductor industry is expected to be worth $55 billion according to an estimate by the year 2026. And what we are, with this export of chips, these are sample chips at the end of the day. And Tata has been talking about partnerships with Tesla as well to supply chips for them. So in that sense, this is Tata essentially beginning that process of sending out its India-made chips. These are made in India chips at the end of the day. And these are not, for any specific requirements and can be used in multiple ways as well. So it's keeping options open. It is putting it out it's like a tester, so to speak, testing the waters in terms of its own ability to be a global chip maker. Bear in mind, Tata's at the forefront of being the number one chip maker in the country, as you rightly mentioned, the chip assembly facility in Assam and the chip making facility in Gujarat as well, and with partnership with the Power Chip semiconductor manufacturing company of Taiwan. So Tata is making sure that even as it strikes partnerships with whom they can sell the chips to, partnerships to manufacture the chips, and also setting up its own base of manufacturing, this will be an important step in that sense for Tata to first of all do it's like a market survey to see how well its own partners respond to some of the chips it makes in India.
All right, and come to think of it, spending a minute or so to understand and make our viewers understand in the process how India's semiconductor industry or the ecosystem has flourished in the last couple of years. I've had the opportunity to recently talk to Micron to basically understand why is there so much buzz around semiconductor and where does India stand as far as that semiconductor trajectory is concerned. Some very interesting points that came to light was, of course, India was a little slow to ride that bus, but India is riding that bus. And this comes by the way of various facilities, credit lines that have been made available to existing semiconductors players as well as to woo other outside players. Now, to begin with, there is a very ambitious semiconductor mission plan, a $10 billion worth of allocation which has been set aside. Apart from that, there is PLI for semiconductors. And so all in all, government at the state level as well as at the center trying to facilitate those players, private players from likes of Tatas and Microns and enabling them to set shop here in India. I think what's also heartening at this point in time is that this is for the first time from Tata Electronics stable that chips that have been made in India have been exported out of India, samples of which will be tested by partners of Tata. This is for the first time that this has really happened in India.
Right, and in fact, this is the first time that India is foraying into making chips or fabricating chips. We've been designing chips
for the longest time.
For more than a decade, but we've not been actually, they're all prefab units, but they're not fabricating units or the ones that actually make the wafers or the chips. So India is making a beginning in terms of making those chips. As you're rightly pointing out, there's Tata, there's Micron, there is a 76,000 crore rupees semiconductor mission stated by the central government of India. So there's a concerted effort being made, and India is making all kinds of chips. Tata itself has plans to roll out all kinds of chips, from the 28 nm chips to the legacy 65 nm and 55 nm chips as well. So the only question that at this stage is that the chip making industry itself is moving at a very fast pace. And if you're noticing what's happening with global giants like, say, NVIDIA, they're already in the process of, where the AI chips, the artificial intelligence chips are the ones that are really at the top of the table right now. My only curiosity and question here is that how soon can India get to making AI chips?
Absolutely. So from R&D, which has been an integral part of India's DNA. In fact, Micron itself suggesting that they have R&D'd and patented at least 300 plus patents have been registered as far as chip making is concerned from Hyderabad and Bengaluru. From that to a foundry, which is also now coming up in Gujarat, from Tatas to Microns, all have shown interest to an ATMP plant. As all in all, entire ecosystem for chips that is being developed now in India. Good news there as far as India's semiconductor prowess is concerned. But shifting focus now to ICICI Bank, which has enabled instant payment facility or UPI for its non-resident Indian customers in India through international mobile numbers. With this facility, NRI customers of the bank can make payments for their utility bills and purchases of e-commerce with their international mobile number registered with their NRE or NRO bank account held within ICICI Bank in India. Now, according to a statement by the bank has said that these services will be made available through their mobile application called iMobile Pay. Now, earlier, remember, NRIs had to register an Indian mobile number with their bank accounts to make UPI payments, which has been enabled across 10 countries in the world, namely US, UK, UAE, Canada, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, Oman, Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Now, with this latest facilities, NRI customers residing in any of these countries do not need to switch to an Indian mobile number to pay using UPI. They can continue using their international mobile number. Every day, Krishna, we hear of a new UPI related, change. Some would say a prowess that UPI is coming to realize, and every time there is a change, it facilitates payments for international customers, not just Indian customers, which has obviously made their lives very easy, but Indians who are expats, Indians who are living here, have left their countries, come back to India to make it easy for them, to facilitate payments for them.
Right, and you've seen the Indian government strike partnerships with many other foreign governments as well. So this is a continuation of that, and let's not forget, as far as the India stack is concerned, UPI has to be on top of the India stack in terms of achievement. No other digital public infrastructure platform in the world has seen the kind of success and the rate of pace of success that UPI has seen, billions of transactions per month. So it only makes sense that more and more Indians, whether they are resident here in India or resident elsewhere, get to take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Shweta.
So while 10 countries have definitely onboarded India's payment system, it now does appear if you're a ICICI Bank customer, you don't really have to have an Indian mobile number to make that UPI payment. You can continue using your number from any of these 10 countries to make UPI payments using a QR code here in India. But with that, it's time for a short break here. We'll be back with more stories on the other side.
trying a lot of experiments, innovations and ideas.
We came out with a new format in audio, which is audio series.
Listening for content-oriented company in India, which is a very unique proposition.
When you look at audio in general, we had music, which is like extremely old format, and then we had podcast.
A natural extension for Pocket FM is to move from Hindi to regional content. I think I'd love to see their FY24 numbers, which they claim will be close to 1,000 crores. I think there are talks of them to raise another $80 to $100 million of funding.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
20,000 people dead and counting. What's happening in the United States of America is unprecedented. You will have to pay for this.
Welcome back. You're watching Business Plus. 15 years after the law was amended to include international workers within the ambit of Employees Provident Fund, Karnataka High Court has now struck down the provisions to include foreign workers and has called it arbitrary as well as unconstitutional. The move is likely to be challenged by the government as well as Employees Provident Fund organization. Remember, this will impact thousands of expatriates who have contributed to social service or are currently a part of the PF system. The petitioners challenged the provisions under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution dealing with equality before law. Now, petitioner argued that foreign workers are eligible for PF regardless of the salary they draw, while Indian domestic workers are bound by the ceiling of 15,000 rupees. The ruling will have larger ramifications on foreign workers who continue to make PF contributions and has put a shroud of ambiguity as to what happens to those expatriates who are currently invested in Employee Provident Fund organization. In a significant ruling there by Karnataka High Court, it's going to result in a lot of confusion now, Krishna.
Right, it will, and it's a ruling that we'll have to wait and watch as to how it's going to play out going forward and what happens to all those who've already invested so far. So, in that sense, the Karnataka High Court order not really giving clarity in terms of what is going to happen to all the PF contributions made so far, and but it does give clarity that the PF that there is no more PF contributions for expat workers as far as India is concerned. Okay. So at this stage, all I can say is that I want to understand what's going to happen with the contributions made so far and how that they can be redeemed or not.
Absolutely. What happens to the contributions that have been made by expats as far as PF is concerned? Let's hope there's some more clarity coming in perhaps in the near future. But moving on now to a story that is coming from Maldives. Now, Maldives has urged Indians to be a part of its tourism and said the country's economy depends on it. This as the number of tourists arriving from India declined by 42% in the first 4 months of this year compared to the first 4 months of last year. With the number of Indian tourists visiting the Maldives dwindling amid strained bilateral ties, the archipelago's tourism minister has urged Indians to contribute to the country's economy. Now, Maldivian tourism minister Ibrahim Faisal emphasized the historical ties and relations between his country, which is the Maldives, and India. The remarks come after a full-blown backlash was directed at the Maldives following derogatory remarks against India and Prime Minister Modi on social media by 3 Maldivian officials after Modi posted photos and videos of pristine Lakshadweep Islands in India. Scores of Indians, including multiple celebrities, cancelled their reservation and dropped plans to visit Maldives. The tourism arrival statistics reflected how, from being a top visitor, India's position went down to 6th from the topmost in a matter of couple of months. It has now dropped by almost 40% in the first 3 months of this year compared to the first 3 months of last year, essentially telling you how Indians are no more choosing Maldives as their preferred tourist destination, Krishna.
Right, and this is coming, it's like the opposite of what happened, polar opposite of what happened during the pandemic. You know, just a couple of 2-3 years ago, at the peak of the pandemic, it felt as if, like, you know, the moment somebody could travel, all Indian celebrities, especially Bollywood celebrities and many others and influencers, they were all heading to Maldives, and they were all, you know, putting out pictures of how beautiful Maldives was. And then came the crash recently. And it's simple because people have realized, in India, have realized the fact that Maldives is not the only go-to destination. As a beach destination, there are options. As a holiday destination, there are options. As a short haul, short flight destinations, there are options. And clearly those comments and the way Maldivian officials spoke about India, Indian tourists, really did not go down well. And for what? Just because we want to promote Lakshadweep as another option?
I think it was unprovoked, it was uncalled for, regardless of what we see out there on the social media, as to what really happened. I think to promote India's own beaches is a right which we have, which we enjoy.
Any country has a right to promote their own tourist destinations. So, you know, for example, you know, name any other country. If I, as a country, want to promote one of the destinations within me, how is it anti your destination? So, yeah. So, and that is the reason why, you know, it didn't go down well. It was unprovoked from a charming, beautiful destination that every Indian wanted to go to. You know, it sort of left a very sour taste in the mouths of, you know, Indian holiday makers. And, you know, recently you saw them working very hard to get all the Chinese tourists back as well. So now Chinese tourists are now back as the top of the pile when it comes to the #1 maximum number of tourists coming into Maldivian Islands. The new regime in Maldives also, you know, supportive towards China and wants to have ties with China as well. So there is a change in direction over there, but clearly, you know, these latest comments coming in point to the fact that just having Chinese tourists might not be enough for Maldives. They never need a good share of the Indian tourists as well.
And Maldives is a tourism-driven economy, and to have a partner like India, which was sending most of its tourists once upon a time, not very long ago, to now being the 6th in the place, and the numbers have dwindled by almost 40%. That does not really augur well for Maldivian tourism.
Definitely not, and that's the reason why you're seeing them put out an olive branch. You know, it's a reach out to India and to sort of calm sentiments in India, hoping to win the love of Indian tourists and Indian holiday makers back, it does send signals as to the stress that Maldivian economy is going through either way.
Absolutely.
And they're going to need all the tourism and money that's coming in from Indian tourists to shore up their own economy.
All right, so it does look like there is an olive branch being extended from Maldives at this point in time, hoping to lure some of its Indian tourists back to Maldives. The numbers have dwindled down by about 40% in the first 3 months of this year compared to last year, and currently at 6th spot as far as total number of incoming tourists is concerned in Maldives. Maldives wants that number to be up again. Let's see whether that happens or not, but efforts being made there by Tourism Ministry in Maldives to lure more Indians back. But with that, it's time for a short break here. We'll be back with more stories on the other side. Stay tuned.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. The Chief Executive Officer of Zee Media Corporation, Abhay Ojha, has stepped down from his position in the organization effective immediately. His departure took effect on 4th of May. Now, Ojha initially joined Zee Media as the Chief Business Officer and Profit and Loss Head of Linear Channels, excluding Vion and Zee Business in 2022, who was later promoted to CEO in 2023. The company's board of directors approved and confirmed Ojha's cessation of employment and his consequent removal as CEO. The reasons for his termination are not disclosed. Earlier last month, Piyush Chaudhary, who was the Chief Manager Legal of Zee Media, resigned from effective 30th of April, close of business hours. This is the second such departure within a very quick period of couple of weeks. Shifting focus now to a story that is coming by the way of India's automobile space. The most popular car of India is no more Maruti. Tata's mini SUV Punch has emerged as the country's largest selling model, ahead of some of Maruti's popular models like Wagoner, Swift and Brezza. Now, Tata Punch has emerged as the largest selling car in India for 2 consecutive months in a row. In the month of March, it clocked about 17,547 units in sales and 19,158 units in the month of April of 2024. The vehicle is sold in both, remember, internal combustion engine, which is the ICE engine, as well as EV avatars. All in all, the total sales of Tata Punch have now moved Maruti away from the top spot, gaining that top spot. What is really working out for Tata Punch? Krishna, I want to understand from you, why are people buying more Tata Punch? How is it different? How is it better?
It is an SUV, and if I were to subcategorize it, it's the mini SUV. So we are in the season of SUVs. If SUVs are the flavor of the season for Indian car buyers, then clearly it is not the small hatchbacks. If you see, even in Maruti's own stable, the hatchback sales and small car sales have been falling. Maruti's own SUV sales have been increasing 50 to 60%. But then again, Tata has been making a concerted effort to claim its rightful place in India's car market. It is now currently the third largest car maker behind Maruti and Hyundai. So if you look at those numbers, a car like Wagoner, which people buy in Indian homes, a car like Wagoner, which is also used in fleets and cab services and etc., you know, beating that number is a huge deal.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget, Tata Punch is in the news again, because Tata Punch.ev, the electric vehicle version of Tata Punch, is placed right in all these IPL matches. So everybody is looking at Tata Punch as a possible option. So there's a lot of effort being put into to promoting Tata Punch, and it seems to be paying off with people buying as well. The other point,
what's more interesting, sorry to cut you short there, I think what's more interesting for me is the month of March, where Punch is not just the #1 car in terms of the units sold, but the #2 spot, which is taken by Creta and not Wagoner.
Right, and the #2, that's a very good point that you make, because Hyundai's Creta, which is not exactly in the same price range, is a fairly expensive car as compared to all these other cars in that top 5. So Hyundai's Creta, I think, is riding the crest of a wave. It's been building up, momentum has been building up for Creta over the last 2-3 years, and now it seems like, you know, more and more Indian consumers are preferring the Creta, which means that a car like the Maruti's Baleno goes out of the top 5, a car like Maruti Swift goes out of the top 5. So it's literally, Maruti's small cars, the hatchbacks, are literally feeling the pangs of their sales declining, and more SUVs taking the space, be it Tata's Punch, which is a mini SUV, or a Hyundai Creta, which is a normal size or a mid-sized SUV. So it's SUV to the fore, and that's really hurting Tata's small car sales, really. Maruti's small car sales, beg your pardon.
Absolutely, and it does look like Tata has punched Maruti from the top spot, with Tata Punch emerging as the largest selling car in India for 2 consecutive months now. In fact, Wagoner was put at the 3rd spot. #2 spot in the month of March was occupied by Creta, and it was back to #2 spot in the month of April. We'll keep getting you all those numbers here on News9, but with that, it's a wrap on the show. Thank you for watching.
Golf as a game, it is closest to the game that you call life.
You've got to use your mind. You cannot lose it.
The sharpest person is one who understands his limitations.
खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि खुदा बंदे से पूछे कि तेरी रजा क्या है.
You might have a bad break after a good shot. You might have a good break after a bad shot. But the fact remains, you got to play the ball from where it lies.